Hi, beautiful being. I've just realised I've left something in the office, but I can probably do without it anyway. I'm here inside wearing my layers and my hat because it's freaking cold today. So I'm not outside the garden because we've got this blinking Antarctic southerly that's just come through the country, and it's cold here. It's 12.5 or something outside, or it was this morning, and I don't feel like going outside. So I'm going to stand here and wander around in my lounge a little bit, and then I'm going to show you some rocks while I do that, and then I'm going to sit down and talk. Because when the weather is not nice outside, I do rocks, and I feel like doing rocks today. So, because, people have got to have time to realise that I'm here, and, my husband has to wait a few minutes because it's like I go live and then nothing sort of happens for a while and it needs to kind of get established. So that's what I do. So here I have a pyramid. I know, it's a pyramid. Let me see if I can get the light through it by coming. Here we go. The light comes through it here. And, I wonder. I can see all these rainbows, but I don't know if I can show you the rainbows. Oh, yeah. Can you see that? I don't know, because to get a rainbow, you've got to have the light hit it just the right way. And I don't know that I'm going to get the light to hit it the right way. I'll just try turning it around. But this is the thing, when the weather isn't nice, I get to show you other beautiful things inside the house. And this is quartz. It's terribly ordinary, really, but I'm very fond of it because obviously it's beautiful. And I'm sorry the rainbow isn't showing up. I can see it, but I can't get it so that you can see it. However, it's a rock. And I'm sure if I hit somebody on the head with it, it will go straight in because it's heavy and it's pointy and it's sharp. Anyway, so that is one of the rocks I wanted to show you today. Today we're into big, square, chunky things. Well, this one isn't square. It's dusty. This is a big old piece of tourmaline. It's really quite impressive. Let me show you. See, it's beautifully terminated. It's got these lovely facets on it. Trying to catch the light so you can see them. There we go. So, and then the sides, this is easier if I'm sitting down, but I just don't feel like sitting down yet. So the sides are all sort of shiny and glossy. And the other end, it's just like the one I showed you. Or is that the one I showed you? I don't know. But there you go. So it's this huge double terminated tourmaline, black tourmaline, shawl tourmaline. And I just felt like showing you that today while I stand up and walk around a little bit, because I've been working, of course, this morning, writing for God of Me, which is this thing this mad idea that kind of owns me. And so every week, every Wednesday morning in New Zealand, I'm getting myself organised to sit down now, I carve some time out. Excuse me. Trying to get myself here so I can put this on this little stand. I carve out some time and I sit in front of my computer and I write. Because I'm writing about, really, how to change. How to manifest things. And everybody talks about how manifestation works. And I just got to the point where it's like, okay, I know about changing how I think and feel and what I do. And that's been critical. Everything that I've learned from Dr. Joe Dispenza has really totally changed my life. And it's the foundation of everything else that I'm learning. Everything else I'm learning sticks onto that. And if it doesn't stick onto that, I really don't want to know. But in the last year or so, I started learning information from physicists, biologists, philosopher, ancient civilizations expert, and all other sorts of things guy called Nassim Haramein. And he and his team have put together a theory of everything. Well, is it a theory of everything? They published at the end of 2023 a paper called The Origins of Mass and the Nature of Gravity. And while everybody might think, oh, mass, we know what that is. Hi, Suzanne, lovely to see you. We know what gravity is. Come on. I mean, you drop something, it goes down. But actually, it's like when you really look at it, how the hell, what is it? Why is it there? Nobody knows, or nobody knew. Why is the speed of light the speed of light? There's just all these different things that people assume that all make sense, and nobody understands them. And he's been asking those questions, which are really hard questions to answer, for about 35 years. And he and his team have actually come up with an answer. And so I've been studying this, and in the last however long it's been, I've been talking about how matter is actually formed at the most bottomest, tiniest little bit of where things start, which is in the unified field, which is so full of energy. The empty space is not empty, okay? It's full of really powerful stuff. And he's come up with this understanding of how that works and how matter actually emerges out of the quantum field, which is pretty wow, really. And what happens inside my head, and you can follow this process on my Patreon, a lot of it, if you go to my Patreon, which is patreon.com/godofme, all one word, you can go back through the history and see what I've been thinking and what I've been writing about. But what's happening in my head is, well, okay, so this is how matter emerges from the void. And, but how do I do it? And I know about this manifestation thing, and you're supposed to think, and you're supposed to feel, and you're supposed to act, and I understand about that. And I've been getting better at the feeling part, because the feeling part was really, really, really hard. Really, it was. I started doing this work to change how I was feeling, and it honestly took me a year before I had an experience of joy, because I had not really realised, I had no idea what joy felt like. Forgotten. Really big time forgotten. So, anyway, I'm trying to get to the point of saying that matter emerges from the field, and it comes in these teeny tiny little packets of energy, and something organises those teeny tiny packets of energy into the stuff that we know of as matter. And the point being, which is what I've been writing about, that resonance organises those teeny tiny packages of energy into matter, but it doesn't just take resonance. You've got to have a resonance, and it's got to hang around for long enough that the field, the 0 point field, the unified field, the void source, whatever you want to call it, actually becomes entrained. It doesn't just get jiggled around and go, oh, there's a frequency, that's interesting. That could form me into a pattern, but I'm not really there yet. It doesn't just go, oh, there's a frequency. There's a frequency, it begins to resonate, and then the resonance entrains the field into something that is solid. And, when I say something that's solid, we think, okay, my fist, a rock, whatever. But also, I'm talking about the less tangible things like that relationship that we want, or the new job that we want, or the purpose in life that we want, which is like, why am I here? What the hell am I doing? Or the money that we desire. Those things too are actually the product of some kind of entrainment. And so, and I know that it's like, oh, entrainment, really? What the hell's this got to do with manifestation? But entrainment is what's going on when the thing finally appears. That's, because I was thinking, do I need to write about this? I've just talked about how you have resonance. And the example I use is if you have two drums of the same pitch. And if one person's playing this drum and the other person is sitting here with their hand on the drum, not playing, they're going to feel that drum. They're going to feel the rhythm in their hand. It's like, what's going on? Well, this drum is the same sound as this one, and the sound waves from this one are going to push this one into resonance. It's called a driving frequency, is what takes something and makes it comes from outside the thing that has the resonance happen to it and drives it into resonance. And I've talked about that, and I've been explaining this, and it's, you can go to my Patreon and you can check it out and learn, because all of that is available for free. Some of it's available to the public, some of it is available for free if you just sign up and follow me. And if you decide to support me for a small amount every month, then you get to find out what my journey is like as I actually work on applying this. Because it's one thing to know it and understand it, and the value for me in unpacking this model to you step by step, Wednesday morning by Wednesday morning, has been amazing, because it's just changed my experience of my life and my meditations that I do with Dr. Joe every day. Amazing. But really, there's stuff in my body that I want to heal. There are things in my life that I want to change. And I'm actually, because I understand now, I can put my awareness, and this is what I've been instructed. It's like the unified field has a mind and it teaches me. But it teaches me because I have this information in my brain, and so it can say, hey, that fact you learned about that? Apply it this way. And I'm in there in my meditation thinking, wow. Because what I've been shown is just mind-blowingly amazing. Hi, Mike. So this is what I wanted to talk about today. And I'm purposefully not really going to talk about the nuts and bolts of entrainment this week, because I had some disruptions this morning. There was something going on which meant that I spent a chunk of my time writing, tidying up what I finished last week. That you may remember. Hi, Laurie. You might remember that I mentioned that there was a piece I was writing, and I thought, is this actually true? I wrote myself a question. Is this correct? And I actually went down a rabbit hole and explored that and wondered whether I should just leave it out. But I decided, actually, no, this is important. I need to explain this. And so I spent time doing that. And I don't really want to talk about it because I talked about it last week and all of that, and that's cool. I want to talk about something different this week. And so I'm going to tell you, excuse me, I need my clock. I'm going to tell you how this actually looks in my meditations. Because, like I said, there are things going on in my body that I am working to change. And by that, I don't mean that I'm going around thinking, oh, when's this going to change? Poke, prod, has it changed yet? I've been there and done that. That is something that you actually have to stop doing. And I just wrote an answer to somebody in a group that I'm in about that, because I asked a question. And I thought I'd been exactly there. Because their body's in pain and they're having struggles and difficulty. And I said one of the hardest things you have to do is stop putting your attention on the fact that it's in pain and it's bad and it hasn't changed yet. Because then you're entrained, you're resonating with the lack and the pain and the difficulty, and it's all really hard. And that just continues to reinforce vibrationally, if you want to say. It's like you're still playing the same song and the universe has to sing with you. It does not have any choice in the matter. Whatever resonance we are putting out, if we keep doing it for long enough, and that's the key thing about entrainment, we will eventually entrain our life to that resonance. We are this powerful. We really are. And so you have, and I mean, people tell these kinds of stories, I was living my life, I was happy, everything was going along. Then something really big happened to me and my life got blown to shit or whatever. And some people, their life gets blown to shit and they don't get beaten up by the circumstance. And I always think, oh my God, they're amazing. And they pull themselves out of it, they do that whole thing. And other people get absolutely buried and they don't pull themselves out of the shit. And the shit becomes how they think and feel. And that happy person that they were before this thing happened is gone. Because they've become entrained to a completely different frequency. And then their whole life starts to reflect that. So this is why I say we are really powerful. And you're right, Laurie, it really is true. It's really hard to own this. Because sometimes you look at your life and think, I did not volunteer for this. And that's a whole question that I'm not going to go into. On some level, even the most difficult and awful things, I believe that we make a choice before we come in to say, I need to overcome this kind of situation. And then we create it, and it can come right out of the blue or the red or the pink or wherever. But that's another discussion. I don't want to go there. I just did, but only a little bit. So so how this translates, I'm going to talk about it as my experience now. Because this is what I'm doing. And by the way, this is I've been learning about this for maybe a year, but this is just how it's evolved, I don't know, in the last couple of weeks, maybe no more. So this is an ongoing thing, and I guarantee if I tell you about this in another week or two, it's going to be different again, because this is just an ongoing process. Do not think that this information is static, or that the information that I'm writing in Patreon is just, oh, well, she knows this, she's been doing this for 20 years. No, this is a journey. And the point of this journey is that eventually I feel, I have no idea how, that I will have a how-to that I can share with people. That's the whole point. Hi, Gray. Great to see you. So this is what it feels like, looks like, senses like, perceives like in my meditation. Now in my meditation, bear in mind that I've been doing my meditations with Dr. Joe now for close on 6 years. It'll be 6 years on the 9th of April in this year. So I've been doing this for a while. I know how to make my brain coherent, and I know how to make my heart coherent. And you've got to be able to do that, period. Because the whole thing with resonance is there has to be coherence. You can't have something entrain if you can't hold a frequency that's coherent long enough to have things entrain. Right? So there's a baseline that I want you to understand. I have done my miles and I'm still doing my miles because I understand you've got to have the tools and you've got to be able to use the tools to do this. So when I'm creating, when I am practicing, experimenting, trying it out, being instructed, being shown how this works for me in the moment, I will go into my meditation usually with something that I want to change about myself. It's not, oh, I want to heal my body. It's like, oh, I have noticed that I've had this emotional reaction to the condition that's in my body, and I have to change that emotional reaction, because if I don't, my body's just going to carry on being the same, because I'm still sending the same chemistry and the same signals. So, yeah, and by the way, I lose it all the time, Laurie. The point is losing, not losing it. We all lose it. The question is, how long am I going to stay completely lost and out of it before I get myself back again? So, up and down is normal. That's okay. So I have an intention, and what happens now is, I've had a reaction to something. I've felt bad, or I've flown off the handle, or I've lost it in some way, and I think, okay, what is the frequency that I've experienced? And I find that frequency. And it's a feeling, right? I mean, you feel it in your body, but for me, everything is frequency now. So I'm in the field, and it's different every day. But what I did today was I did a blessing of the energy centers meditation, and I was directed, okay, in each center, I, we, one, the source, God, universe, whatever it is, whoever it is that's talking to me in there, said, I want you to find that frequency, that incoherence, that fear, which is what it was, that fear, that pain, that whatever, in your first energy center. And once you're aware of it, I want you to fill it with love. And the reason why I know that I'm doing this is because when energy manifests from the field, it comes from the 0 point field where there's infinite energy, and it is literally screened. It loses energy. It passes through. You can imagine a grid. I'm not going to go into that. I talked about that last week or the week before. It's the most amazing thing. It's not just, not just like a cross-hatching of lines, but it passes through a screen and it loses energy in the process of doing that. And that is how how energy slows down into matter. It gets screened. And I'm not going to say any more about that. But it loses energy as it comes through the screen. So if I want it to stop being a thing that has lost energy and become matter, it has to gain energy to go back into the unstructured 0 point field. It has to gain energy. And the field is love. And I don't mean, oh, I love you. It's not. It's beyond emotion. It's just pure awareness, presence, power, whatever you want to call it. It is love. So I filled that density of that fear, which was quite powerful, with love. And I had to hold my awareness on it. It wasn't just to snap my fingers and it was done. I had to hold my awareness there. And some of them, Some of my energy centers entrained quite fast to love. And some of them, it was work. And one of them, like my second energy center, it didn't really come undone until I'd done the fifth, because there was a link between them. You know, the incoherence was kind of feeding back between the two. So, and that was okay. I had a feeling about that. I thought, oh, I've got a feeling, you know, further up. So once that fear had been filled with love, I can push it back through that screen. These are the words I use. This is not really what I do. I'm not thinking of pushing it back with my hands. I know that when it gains energy, it can go back through that screen, back to the quantum field, back to the quantum foam, actually. It's a foam. It's just, you know, creating and destroying, creating. It's complete, it's energy, and it's unrealized. If this thing that I've experienced as a frequency of fear gains enough energy, so I fill it with love, it can go back through the screen and back to the 0 point field, completely unstructured. It no longer exists. It never was when I've done that. Then, because I've got to uncreate it. It's there. I've got to uncreate it. And then, only then, can I, because the space is clear now, that thing's gone. And I did this all the way up, and I did it with the Taurus, that is my whole field. Because that was just, it was everywhere. Because we are, you know, there's not one part of us that's separate from another. So I did that all the way up, and I did that in my entire energy field. And then the meditation takes you into a place where you can get beyond all of that. And when I was beyond all of that, and I'd undone it all, then I could place my attention on what I want to do, what I want to create, the new frequency that I wanted to bring into existence. Because I'm in the unstructured 0 point field. There's just energy. There's no structure. So then, this is where the resonant part comes in. I'm choosing to hold a resonance of renewal, regeneration in there. That's my intention. And I know how that feels now because I've been practicing it for a while. And for me, I imagine it spinning. I just imagine a little galaxy in that absolute void where there's nothing except pure, raw, intense, enormous, infinite energy. And I spin it. And I make it a little galaxy. A little spinning galaxy of regeneration. And I have to hold it there. And there comes a point when I can think, okay, my little galaxy is spinning quite nicely now. I can feel it. I can't tell you except that I can feel it. And sometimes it spins up really easy, and sometimes I have to hold it there for a while. And that's what I was saying before. The same kind of thing when I was working through my energy centers. Some of them would fill up with love and you know, entrain to that love quite fast. And some of them was just, I had to work at it. So I'm there and I'm creating this galaxy, this spinning vortex of renewal, regeneration. And then there comes a point when I think, when I feel, okay, this is established. I can feel this, it's solid. And I just have to hold it there a little bit longer and a little bit longer and a little bit longer. And then there comes a point when I know that that resonance has communicated itself to the screens. And while that sounds like, why is that important? The screen is like the lens. If I've got a picture inside, the screen is like the lens. If I have a light inside and a 360 degree globe inside with a light inside it, and then the screen is out. The screen is the thing that's got the picture on it that says, this is what's going to come out. This is what's going to outpicture into my life. And so there comes a point when I feel that little galaxy is spinning. It doesn't have to be huge. It just has to be there. It has to be solid. Because I'm in a very small space. I'm right inside one little tiny plonk spherical unit. The universe, the 0 point field is in there. I don't need to be everywhere because it's all connected. So I do it there. And there comes a point when the screen entrains with what I'm doing in the center. And then this is the fun part. All of these little tiny things, because the plonk spherical units make up the universe, and they are all connected by minuscule but they are all connected by tiny wormholes. When one of those Planck spherical units has entrained to me, they all do, because they're all connected. And I felt that. It's like it's just done. It's just done. And that really is the process that I'm talking about. And then you might say, well, but does the thing happen in your body or in your life immediately? No, it doesn't. But what does happen is that there's a few things. I feel different because I overcame myself. I can think the same thought that I thought this morning that brought the fear up. And it did. And it was like, oh my God, my body has gone into a state of freeze. I'm afraid. Or rather, my body's afraid. I wasn't. I was observing it. But my body had gone into freeze. And I changed that. And now I'm curious to see when the same thing happens again that made me think that thought that made me go into freeze, whether I'll have the same response. And I don't think I will. It doesn't hold the same fear to me. So I have changed that part of myself permanently because I just don't have that same response anymore. And I've done this many times, and I know that the change is permanent when it's like this. And so that's changed. And so because I've changed, I know my body has changed to some degree. Just because I don't see the final output in my physicality doesn't mean it's not in process. Because I got to entrain this whole physical unit to this regeneration that I'm working on. And I have a whole lot of thoughts about how that's hard and how people don't regenerate. They age and bodies die. And, it's like, what if none of that's true and we just believe it because everybody says so and they all live that so that is how it is, even though it's not. So I just, so entrainment, the whole point about entrainment is that it starts off with things but not being in sync. But if we hold the resonant frequency for long enough, it will drive the other thing into resonance. And that process is entrainment. And that's why I'm going to unpack entrainment, because if I'm going to do this in my mind, in the unified field, working with source, working with one, working with my body, working with my life, creating abundance, creating healing, whatever it is for you, then you got to really know, at least I got to really know what it is that I'm playing with and working with and changing. I find that incredibly helpful. There are people, and I kind of admire them and love them and think, wow, that's amazing, who simply don't need this level of analytical understanding. And I think it's a blessing, and I also think it slows me down. Because I see them doing amazing stuff and they don't need it. And maybe one day I'll be like those people. But for now, this is just where I'm at and what I'm learning. And I find it exciting and I love to share it. And yeah, slowing down is helpful. But the thing about PTSD, the little bit that I know about PTSD, is that there are automatic programs in the brain that get triggered off. And in the same way, the thing that happened this morning, it was trauma, really, that got triggered off. And so this is what I'm finding, is that I can denature that particular thing. Its frequency just isn't there anymore because I unmade it. And so the response isn't there either. Because it's just literally not there. So, this is just my journey, and this is entrainment. This is why entrainment is important and why I'm going to take the time to explain it. So that when somebody reads this thing from A to B to C to D, that they understand what they're doing and why they're doing it. And I know there'll be people who don't need or want that kind of detail, but it serves me, and I know there are others who find it useful. So if you haven't checked out my Patreon, do. There's a link at the bottom of this video. There's a lot of stuff you can enjoy for free, and I would love to see you there. For now, thank you so much for joining in. I love your comments. I appreciate the conversation. Likewise, if you drop me comments on Patreon, I will always reply because I love that. Big love. I'll be back next week with more. Until then, much love. Bye-bye.